The wind was gnawing at the walls of the crooked little hut as it wanted to tear the last bit of urine out of the night. Inside, a small boy named Ilya crouched close to a flickering fire made of damp sticks. The flame hissed and spat, throwing quick light over the earthen floor. His thin fingers were blue from cold, but he still held them out toward the heat as if his palms could draw life each leaf from those trembling tongues of fire. The boy had been alone for months, ever since the village had driven him away. They said his mother had brought misfortune, and after he was gone, no one wanted the boy either. He had built this hut from scraps of broken boards and pieces of canvas, at the edge of the forest where no one came. He learned how to catch rainwater in a clay pot, how to pick mushrooms, and which roots were safe to eat. Sometimes he wandered into the village at night and stole a crust of bread from the baker's window ledge, but guilt always sat heavy on him afterward. He wasn't bad, he just wanted to live. That evening, snow began to fall, slowly at first, then faster, until the world outside was nothing but white noise and swirling shadows. The boy listened to the storm pressing against the roof. He felt the loneliness settle deeper inside him, a cold heavier than the winter air. He wrapped his arms around his knees and whispered to the fire, pretending it could hear him. Just one night warmer than the last, that is all I ask. Then came a sound that didn't belong to the storm, a dull, uncertain knock on the door. He froze. No one ever comes this far into the woods. Wolves, maybe, or the old hunter who sometimes shouted at him from the hill. The knock came again, softer, like it was afraid. "Master," he called, his voice thin and cracked from disuse. A pause, then, through the hisses of the snow, a trembling woman's voice answered, "Please, child, open, I'm cold." Ilya hesitated. He had nothing to drive. Not enough food, not enough firewood, not even enough space for two to sleep. But something in that voice, frail, breathless, full of exhaustion, made him stand. He pulled the door open. The wind shoved its way in first, scattering ashes and smoke across the room. Behind it stood a figure bent beneath a heavy shawl, white hair matted with melting snow. Her face was pale, almost blue, and her eyes, dark, teary eyes, searched his as if asking permission to exist. "Come in, grandmother," Ilya said quickly, stepping aside. "Before the cold kills you." She nodded honest and stepped into the hut, closing the door behind her. For a moment they both stood silently, their breath clouding the air. Then the boy gestured toward the small fire. "Sit, please. Warm yourself." The old woman knelt awkwardly beside the flames. Her hands trembled as she reached them out, and Ilya saw that her skin was thin as paper, veins tracing blue beneath it. She smelled of pine needles and something faintly sweet, like dried apples. "You live here alone?" she asked after a moment. He nodded. "Since summer. My mother is gone." "I see." Her voice was soft but carried a strained calm. "And no one comes to see you. People don't like him much," he admitted, poking the fire with a stick. "They say I bring bad luck." The old woman gave a quiet, rasping laugh. "Then luck has been poorly taught." He looked at her, puzzled, but she only smiled faintly, watching the flames as if she cold red tear starries. Ilya stood and fetched a small bundle from a corner, a single piece of bread, hard as stone, wrapped in cloth. He broke it carefully in half. "It is not much," he said, "but it is all I have." She tried to protest, but he pressed the piece into her hands. "Please, you need it more." She studied him for a long time. Her eyes were not merely old, they were deep, reflecting something ancient and endless. "You drive what you cannot spare," murmured. "That is the rarest kind of kindnesses." The boy blushed and shrugged. "It is just bread." "No," she said. "It is a heart." They ate in silence. The bread was dry, but to Ilya it tasted better than anything he had eaten in months, maybe because he wasn't eating alone. The woman's movements were slow, deliberate, as if every bit was a ceremony. Afterward, she leaned back against the wall, sighing. The firelight danced on her wrinkled face, making her look, for a moment, almost young. What is your name, child? Или, a good name, sh said. Strong, you'll need that strength. He frowned. For what? For whatever comes next. Her gaze drifted toward the small window where the snow pressed like a white curtain. Winter is only beginning. Ilya followed her look and felt a chill run through him, not from the cold, but from the weight of her words. Something in her tone carried both warning and promise. You should rest, he said finally. The bed is small, but you can take it. You'll stay by the fire. I cannot take your bed, he began. You can, he interrupted gently. Please, it is only one night. The old woman smiled again, a slow curve of gratitude and sorrow mingled. You remind me of someone I once knew, he whispered. Someone who also believed in sharing what little he had. She moved toward the bed, each timid, as if testing the earth beneath her feet. When she lay down, she said again, this time almost peacefully. The fire, keep it alive, she murmured, closing her eyes. It listens, you know. Ilya tilted his head, listens, to hearts that burn brighter than the flames. He didn't understand, but he nodded. He added another stick to the fire, watching it flare and crackle. The hut filled with the scent of pine and smoke. Outside, the storm softened, turning into a whispering hush. The boy sat there long after the woman's breathing had evened out into sleep. He wondered who she was, what path had brought her to his lonely hut in the middle of nowhere. Maybe she had been lost in the forest, or abandoned like him. Maybe had simply crossed their roads because both of them had no one else. At some point his eyelids grew heavy. He wrapped his thin arms around himself and drifted into dreams beside the dying fire. In his dream, he saw the old woman standing by a great tree bathed in golden light. She was not frail anymore. She stood tall and radiant, her shawl gleaming like sunlight on water. She spoke without moving her lips, kindness is a seed, child. Plant it, and it will find its soil. He tried to ask her what she meant, but the wind carried her away into the light. When Ilya awoke just before dawn, the fire had burned down to embers. The hut was silent except for the faint sound of snow melting from the roof. The woman still slept, or so he thought. He pulled his thin blanket over her shoulders and smiled faintly. Sleep well, grandmother, he whispered. Tomorrow will be better. He didn't know yet that tomorrow would be more than better, that the stranger he had welcomed from the storm was no beggar at all, but the beginning of a miracle that would change everything he knew about loneliness, about kindness, and about the world itself. The morning crept in quietly, brushing pale light across the frost-covered world. The storm had passed, leaving behind a silence so deep that even the forest seemed to be holding its breath. Ilya stirred from the corner where he had fallen asleep, his body stiff and cold. The fire had shrunk to a few faint embers, glowing like sleepy eyes beneath the ash. He rubbed his hands together and sat up, blinking at the grey dawn that filtered through the cracks in the wall. For a moment, he didn't remember the events of the night. Then his eyes moved to the small bed, and he smiled. The old woman, she was still there, wrapped in his blanket, her back turned toward him. He rose and stepped softly across the dirt floor. Grandmother, he whispered. The snow stopped. The sun's coming. She didn't move. Her stillness was heavy, and for a moment his heart sank. But when he touched her shoulder, the blanket was warm. She was gone. Not dead, gone. The bed was empty. The blanket lay neatly folded, as if arranged by careful hands. Ilya stared, wide-eyed. Grandmother, he called again, louder this time. He pushed open the door and looked outside. The air beat his cheeks, crisp and bright, the kind of morning that makes everything sparkle. There were no footprints in the snow. Not one. The path before the hut was untouched, smooth as glass. A strange stillness filled him. He stood there a long time, his breath rising in small clouds, until the silence broke, not by his own voice, but by the sound of wheels. Distant at first, then growing louder. The rumble of horses. He squinted toward the road, where the forest thinned into open fields, and saw a flicker of gold. At first, he thought the sunlight was playing tricks. But then the glint grew brighter, until he could see them clearly, carriages, black and shining, their brass fittings gleaming. Horses as white as frost trotted at their lode, their harnesses trimmed with silver. Behind them, men rode on horseback, clacked and upright, their faces hidden by fur hoods. Ilya's first thought was to hide. He darted behind the hut, pressing himself against the rough bars. Who could these people be? No one of wild or power ever come near the forest. His men trusted, maybe they were soldiers sent to chase him away, or tax collectors from the Lord's estate. He didn't even own anything worth taking. But the carriages did not pass. They slaved. The first one stopped right in front of his crooked little door. Then comes the sound of boots crunching on the snow. Someone was approaching. The boy peered around the corner. A woman stepped out of the load carriage. For a heartbeat, he didn't recognize her. As she wore a gown the color of morning light, her cloak lined with white fur, and her hair, long, silver, and gleaming, flowed freely around her shoulders. But then as she smiled, and Ilya felt something inside him stir. "Grandmother," he whispered. The woman, no longer bent, no longer frail, walked toward him with slow, graceful steps. Her eyes were the same, deep, warm, endless. "You look surprised, Ilya," she said softly. "Did you think I would leave without saying farewell?" He stumbled out from behind the hut, unable to find his words. "But you were here last night. You were different." "Yes," she nodded, her gaze gentle. "Last night, I was what I needed to be, a tired old woman in the cold. You gave them shelter, you gave them warmth, you gave them something that most huts forgot to offer. I only gave you bread," he said, his voice small. She smiled. "You gave them kindnesses. That cannot be bought, but it can buy everything." The men behind her bowed their heads, silent and still as status. The carriages gleamed, their polished surfaces reflecting the morning sun until it looked as though gold each had come to rest before his humble hut. "Who are you?" Ilya asked at last. She looked toward the wide stretch of land that surrounded his little home, the barren fields, the frost-bitten trees, the river that cut through the valley like a frozen vein. "Honest," she said, "this land belonged to money. Greedy hands fought over it, divided it, bailed it dry. No one saw it as beauty anymore." She turned back to him. "Until last night, he didn't understand. What does that have to do with them?" "Everything." Her eyes glimmered, not with pride but with quiet certainty. "Because kindnesses, child, has roots. And years reached deep into this earth. You opened your door, and in doing so, opened the heart of this land. It has waited a long time for someone worthy." She raised her hand. One of the men stepped forward, holding a folded parchment sealed with gold. The woman took it and placed it gently into Ilya's trembling hands. "This," she said, "is a deed of ownership. From this day, all the land you see, the fields, the woods, the river, belongs to you." Ilya stared at the parchment, at the shimmering seal pressed into its surface. He felt dizzy. "Belongs to him, but I'm just a boy. I don't even have shoes. Shoes will come," she said with a soft laugh. "But first, learn to walk the earth as it truly is. Careful as you carry it for a stranger. Feed it, shelter it, and it will never abandon you." "I can't," his voice broke. "I don't know how to be anything. I don't even know how to live properly." "Then you'll learn," she said. "You already know the first lesson, to jive, even when you have little." The wind lifted her silver hair, and for a moment she looked almost transparent, as though the sunlight were passing through her. Her expression softened, and her tone grew faintly wistful. "Honest, long ago, I too had nothing. And someone took me in, as you did. I repeat it when I called. Now it is your turn. Или blinked. But we am. SH smiled. Because you never asked hi. The men began to move again, carrying boxes and bundles from the carriages, wood, towels, food, fabric, things Ilya had never seen except in the windows of distant shops. They began clearing the snow, sticking planks, laying foundations. His crooked hat, honestly leaning like a tired animal, was soon surrounded by life and noise.